Welcome back. Today we're going to be making some engine mounts for my 2000 Durango RT. In a different video I covered kind of my plans for this thing. I bought it, got it running, transmission crapped out, doing an 8-speed swap, but while I'm at it I wanted to raise the diff up so those CV axles weren't so pitched up and bound up, because I'd like to lower it even more. And since I plan on hopping up my old 360 out of the Dakota, that made 365 horse at the tire before boost in that truck. So that engine, this 8-speed. Now raising this up, we're going to do it 1 inch. So I've got the old mounts for reference, and I've got some sand cut sand boxes lying around. I've got this one started mocked up on the table, so I start checking. So here is, I believe this was the driver's side mount. Let's see. So, theoretically, I couldn't really raise this up with the original bushing. Plus, I wanted to go polyurethane. An advantage is it's better, stronger, it is firmer, you will get more vibrations. But what I liked about the polyurethane mounts I made for my Dakota, which are over here somewhere, look a lot like the Hypotech ones, but I made these myself. The cool part about having these is whenever I pull the trans out, the engine just sits perfectly still. I tried putting the 8-speed in by myself in the Durango with the engine pitched back without the right tools on the ground, and it gets dangerous. So, this is going to take care of 3 different problems. It's going to hold the engine straight, make it easier for me to work on it. It's going to hold the engine more solid, better for performance, and raise the diff up so our CV axles are a little happier so we can go even lower. So I drew this up, all the pieces, these little spacers, McMaster car, the DOM, McMaster car, love McMaster car. I think this is going to suffice for the diff mount. It's just this thick. This is just that thick, no problems. I think I may have to shim the diff backwards after, maybe, once it gets higher up in the frame. But at least I don't have to go forward, it looks like, so I can always spacer it back. This side with the stud, I have not figured out yet what I'm going to do for the stud. I did get some of these fancy square nuts that may work, and here's my other piece. So stud, that rolls around there. This slides inside here, nice and flush, and there's where our stud will go. And if this happens to work on the back side, I just don't know about having, how long this will last. Once it's on the truck and tightened, it's not going anywhere, it's kind of trapped. I just don't know that this nut is the answer, so I've not solved that. I may just weld a bolt in there, I don't know. But we can get all this together, put the engine, or get it mocked back up, bolt the diff up, see if that works out, and then drop the engine on it and see if that works out. What I believe these studs are for is the engine mount on the bracket on the block bolts here, and it bolts here. So the diff's hanging below that. You don't want this thing pivoting off one bolt. So the engine mount has a flat this bolts through. So it keeps these two, or the mounts, the driver and passenger, true. This is flat. So that you're not putting any torsional load into the diff mounts. So I'm gonna sit here and measure for a bit, and I'll tack some stuff up. And then I'll drag the other one over and we'll go over it, and then I'll tack it up and we'll attempt to put it in the truck, and hopefully I got it right. Here's our semi-completed mount. The bushing's a pain to get in there, so I was gonna tack it, and then I thought if this thing is ever coming apart, I'm just ordering new parts because that's gonna be impossible to cut and take way too long. It didn't cost that much to get all the steel. The DOM was a bit expensive. This is M10, so I'm gonna go back to Ace tomorrow, and the square nut for it should be considerably larger, and I think that's gonna solve that issue. But for now, I want to set this in the truck and see if I got this right. I left this intentionally a little long because I want it to actually be tight on the rubber. I've had some that I made where it was, once I actually put it in there, the rubber was a little shallow of the sleeve. So it had some room to give. Not that it's a problem. It probably helped with some misalignment because it could just shimmy on the sleeve. But I wanted to squeeze these pretty tight. So it's as welded as it's going to get until I get this piece in, and then I will weld it up. Still debating whether just putting a bolt in, but it'd be kind of hard to get to, and the whole idea is this holds itself up. But the diff should hold it up while you're getting it there. So anyway, I'll figure that out later. But for now, I can see if it'll fit in the chassis, and I can get the diff bolted back up to it. And we can kind of see if it fits back in the engine bracket, or the engine mount. La da da, driver's side, maybe. We are in there. Does that line up? What side am I on? Maybe I'm on the wrong side. Maybe I'm on the right side. Which way are you facing, engine? There we go. Well, that looks better. I guess I had the passenger side bracket. I guess, yeah, the driver's side's a long one. Okay, the passenger side bracket. That goes in there. If you can even see the hole. And we need a flashlight. Need more lights in this garage. Where did you go? Oh, there we go. Spotted one. All right. There we go. It sits like that. And I've got a little slack fore and aft in this bracket down here. That's why I had these, that's why it was cheeked with these pieces. Get this snugger. It's got just a touch of room, so that'll tighten up just fine. Let me grab the original one. Let's see how it felt in there. Ooh. This one is going to be the easy one. The driver's side one is going to suck. Let's see how close we got it. Hey, it's got a little wiggle room too. Maybe not as much. I might have another 32nd or 64th or something, but it's gonna work. Alright, let's see if this will fit in the truck. Like a glove. Damn it, it's so dark in here. Here. There we go. That'll slide down nice and easy, and diff will bolt right there. Alright, I'm gonna find some bolts and get this thing in here. Alright, round two. If this is the side the bolt was, or the bolt head was on, of a nut. It bolts in for now. See what that did to the CV axle. Wow, these damn lights. Doo-doo. CV up 1 inch gets us a lot closer to the bump stop, but this thing's been dropped so far that I don't know if that's going to be a problem. We'll have to see when I actually get to, well, let me see if I can show you a little better. There's the room we got. We got about 1 inch. So let's not try to knock it off. Let that guy flop back where it wants to go. And we'll mangle the cotter pin for the lower ball joint. Doesn't have a whole lot of travel because I got too short of a shock. I'll pick the truck up instantly. Oh, because that shock's too short. All right. Well, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of right there. I won't have to come back. We're still loose, of course. We're actually snugged up, but 1 out of 2. This thing's lowered far enough that this thing may just end up going bye-bye. We'll see. Once I can get full weight on it. And back there is pretty tight. But that's the part that doesn't really move, so we should be all right. We'll see. We'll worry about it when it's a problem. I know looks like we're still going to be good here on our power steering stuff. Let's pick it up a bit. You can have an idea. It doesn't mean it's a good one. And then you can try to think of all the problems, and you're not always going to catch them all until you do it. And then it becomes obvious why you're dumb. Eyeballing flat. Oh no! Come on. Eyeballing flat. Bingo. Problemo. But so I guess it has to go a little further back when it's actually bolted in. Hey, we're clear now. So it might be pretty tight on these lines. Might be pretty tight. We'll see if we get away with it or not. The gap on the other side was tighter than this. Apologize, you guys really can't see much. But this camera can only get so small. So we'll see. We either get away with it by a hair or it wipes out those lines. But I think we're getting away with it. But I've had enough fun for tonight. That was the easy one. Now, I figure out this one. We'll get it mocked up. Probably not going to do anything with this till later. Here's the driver's side bracket. I didn't record welding or any of it. It's well, it's mostly welded together. Hopefully it works out. See how much thinner everything is going to the steel. Now this is only 1/8 inch steel, so I'm a little worried about the weight of the engine twisting it. So once I get everything fit and the diff works and I can set the engine in, then I'll come back and gusset both sides. This was a pain. See if you can see it, we're wider here, narrower here. Everything moved around. I got it tacked and hammered it around until everything looked like it was fairly flat. So I'm hoping that this will get it. The diff is weird because on the, let's see, the passenger side, the engine mount and the diff mount straight up and down. On the driver's side, this is straight up and down. It's got this kick this way. So I've got this with these straight slots, and then I've got this tube. And ideally, I'm hoping that I can get the tube bolt all the way through it and get it level where it's happy, and then stitch these in. Don't know exactly how that's going to work. So we're going to get this in the chassis and start playing with it. I just got these bolts in and tight. I used my angle finder on my phone. Truck's or Durango sitting at 180 degrees flat. So I set that at 180, and tighten them up. Looking from the side, visually, it looks like they're pretty straight. So I might have got it. But now I gotta start playing around with how this tube's gonna work. And what did I do with it? I hope this works. If not, it's back to the drawing board. I'll have to make a bracket to go to my bracket, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. So some form, well, this is way too long to actually fit. Some form of this. I've got a tube to go to there, and then I've got another tube to go around this tube to make it thicker, since it's got to reach out so far. But I'm gonna play with this for a minute and see what I come up with. Now that I've got these bolts tightened up, this plan, that's not gonna work. Just the angle of the dangle, it is all wrong. I could never get it dropped down enough. So what I'm gonna do is get a piece of steel, come up the flange of the diff, and jog over to my bracket and blast it. Once it's blasted on there with the MIG, I'll take it off, reinforce it, coat whatever extra I need off of it, and that should work. Here's what I've ended up with. I ended up chopping where those tubes were. All that's gone. I found some steel over underneath the bandsaw, some 5/16, a quarter, and a 3/16. I drilled, bolted it to the diff, marked this piece, cut it, measured the diff a billion times, and hopefully I got it right. Tacked it in place, took it out, TIG welded it up. So the only thing I got to do now is gusset this side. I feel like this side probably needs a little gusset. And I'll probably gusset that side too. Maybe, yeah, I'll gusset that side. So gusset, weld the nuts for the stud, and then I'll be ready to try to set the engine in. Can't remember exactly where I left off, but I got the gussets done and then painted up, bushings put back in. This side I ended up not putting gussets on. I don't actually think it needs it. This side I did gusset here, welded this side, welded here. So that should help keep that from twisting. This one's pretty well centered. The only time it's gonna see any loads if the trans is hanging off the back, and it's such a short gap from here to the, where the tube is for support. I don't think it will twist. I'm sure if you put enough on it, it could, but I think it'll be all right. Got the nuts welded in. I've got to get some studs. I'm hoping I can just find some washers to mock it up and see if it's actually going to work, or if I failed miserably. Something I did think about is that pinion angle where it was lower and the drive shaft kind of came almost straight to it, maybe downhill a little bit. I moved everything 1 inch up, kept the same angle. So we'll see when it's all in there. I may end up wedge washering this thing back down depending on where it needs to fit, but none of that matters at the moment. I just need to get this thing in and see what it looks like. Got the diff bolted back in. Everything is loose, well, snug-ish on the sides. This one has a slot it can move in and out, so I left it floating and kind of left everything floating around, because that flat plane on both pieces, when you tighten this bolt up, it's going to want to kind of keep it straight. So I want them to move where they want to when the engine's in and those bolts are tight. And then I'll go around and tighten everything up. Now I got to move all this crap and rig that up so it'll sit by itself, get the chain back on this engine, and hopefully one shot, one kill on these mounts. We'll see. Well, after about 30 minutes of aggravation, transmission is in there for mock-up, and the transfer case is out of the floor and also in there. Now that everything is tight, it looks like I need to shim my driver's side mount, because we got, there you go, you can see that gap. It's probably 5/16, 3/8 between the boot and whatever you want to call this. And on this side, now that it's tight, I got closer to probably 1/2 inch. Yeah, I got much larger gap. The heights look about right. If I'm eyeballing from top of control arm to top of control arm, the heights are very close. This side could go up maybe a 1/16. So whenever I shim it, since the thing's at an angle, it will also bring it up. But that's my biggest issue with the diff mount. I did send a screwdriver through that gap and opened it up, no problem. Clearance, we're good. All right, because of the bell housing difference, the flange here, wide open space. Gonna be quite complicated probably to get a mount here. I've got these holes, not that this is the strongest member. I've got a bolt hole here. These are for the starter. I could probably grab right here too if I had to. I will figure that out. There's another decent sized bolt. So there's this side, that side. It probably would be nice just to have a bracket, grab these two holes, come over, and then catch these two holes. Just don't know if it'll be strong enough. It'd probably also be nice to be able to go straight up. So grab here, come over. That's bolted, and another one right on the back side of the starter. Kind of triangulate so it's not just swinging from these two. And then I think we'll be good. Now it's pretty stout by itself. It doesn't really move. I think all in all everything turned out right. The bushings do have a little give, but not too much. Now let's look at the transmission. And this thing is probably sitting almost at the drive line angle or powertrain angle it should be. Whenever I pick the trans up, I max out my engine mount bushings pretty quick, like it's kind of in its happy spot. So this cross member I've got put in here backwards right now. See what's kicked back and down? It's intended to go that way to still have the angle for the transmission, but forward. But it gets all over the pan. So I flipped it around, now it's hanging down. This probably will work because it's not the lowest point the transfer case is. We'll see when everything's actually in there. Yeah, see, I can pick up everything. See if I can do it with one hand. Yeah. All the way at the tail housing. One hand. Come on. Yeah. And right there, it feels like I'm maxed out. Like this is kind of where it wants to stay. This is its home. Maybe up a hair. But that's not lower than that. I wish I took some pictures before taking it apart. I don't know if this stuck down below, but it does now. And this angle for the transfer case was the same as the 46 RE sitting there. But I think it scooted the transfer case back just a hair. So our shifter is going to end up hooking back up. Not a problem. I still got a grind right there. You see that? I can't get in there that well. One of these little supports is touching where the mount will bolt up to. So that's got to go. Looks like these ones can stay. That's just that little guy right there. And then this is bolted up as it was. I may later on, and we'll see, change to a, I don't know, transfer case as two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, but for now we're just gonna leave this be. That 3-degree angle, let me get back around. I know it's hard to see, we're on the creeper, but I don't have a lift. That 3-degree I was worried about on the front differential is kind of necessary. It's not the end of the world. This could pitch down. If you get the flashlight hanging somewhere useful. This could pitch down, but it still kind of has to go uphill towards the output of the transfer case. So it's going to be all right. No reason to mess with it as of now. Room on the transmission. Cooler lines go here. Plenty of room between it and the drive shaft. Fuel line could bolt right back up where it's supposed to. Starter's got plenty of room. My factory, the cable for the Magnum should line right up and work with that. I'm gonna have to, I don't know if I'm gonna notch this. I mean, the transfer case is lower, so this being here is not a bad thing. It'll let you know you're about to smack the case. This will have to get carved out to get off the pan, because we want to be able to drop the pan in the vehicle. And looks like we only got to notch out about 1 inch and we'd have it. So this will have to get notched. Since this is flipped upside down, here's where the slots are for the transmission mount. I'll have to get the transmission mount off the 46 RE and maybe even look at the one that's on my Ram still to see what it actually looks like. Because we're going to catch 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts here. But this has the big opening where you get your socket through. So I'll probably just plate over that. I'm not going to do anything too fancy with this. Looks like the bolts did line back up. Feels like it did. Yeah, I had to roll it over, or this way. When I tried spinning it, the angle was wrong, but also there's a little different offset in these holes. So when I just rolled it this way, it worked out. So I'll see what my mount looks like on my truck. I don't want to go crawl in the grass. And we'll look at the 46 RE, but somewhere amongst all that, but I did do polyurethane on the engine, so I'm gonna have to, or I should probably do polyurethane on the transmission. Yeah. But let's go see if we can peep under the Ram. Here's one of my Rams. 1, 2, 3, 4. That kicks straight down. That's easy enough. And then I could always space it. Looks like it's fairly shallow. Well, that's really going to be it for this one. It is back in. It's out of the floor. Fairly happy with the engine mounts. I'll shim that side. That'll get it squared away. It's got my CV axles in a lot better shape than they were. I mean, it's just 1 inch difference. So it means I can lower it 1 more inch and still be in just as bad a shape as it was before, and not worse. I've got extended range CV axles. They're supposed to be a little, give you a little more angle, so they should be happy. But you really don't want them doing a whole lot of work. Man, that's cool. That worked out nice. That guy is sitting flat. What else I gotta do? Unfortunately, I'm a chump, and I didn't do this before I put the trans in. I only put it in there for mock-ups. Only got 2 bolts in the bell housing. I've still got to drill and rivet these pieces for the torque converter They locate on the mounting holes and then drill tiny rivets and pop them in on the torque converter just outside of the circle. That is to get the gap between the torque converter and the flex plate correct. Best I could find was millimeters, but somewhere around a 1/16 to an 1/8. So that's what I aim for. I got 2 different thicknesses to play with. So I got to pull it all out to put that in. But I wanted it in so I could start mocking up other things like that cross mover for the trans mount. The stuff I need to order to do the 8-speed control is $1,200 and seems legit. Now I still have to have the transmission programmed, and they sell the programmer, but to buy it's $900. My Ram 1500 is sitting outside. I move it around sometimes. I'll take it to the gas station, but its transmission's been going out. It had 260 something thousand miles on it, and I hauled my another Ram where the engine for that came out of, and since then it surges and shudders and does weird stuff. But apparently to do the swap, you have to read the data out of the original transmission, put a new one in, and then program it to it. And apparently I need that tool for that as well. I don't know if there's another way around that. I think I've read that the transmission will work, but like the manual shifter or something weird won't work. So I almost need it for that, but that means I'm at about $2,200. So that's going to be down the road just a little bit while I piddle with some other things. I've got a lot to do. So I'll figure out drive shafts, crossmember. I'm going to do everything physically that I can, and then spend the money and hopefully not get my butt kicked on it. I still got to decide, do I do the trans controller and leave the factory computer running the engine, which I think is a smaller project, or that's what I should do, or I buy the max ECU engine and trans controller and do all of it. But I don't really need to do that. It just needs to run. Well, I got a lot to think about. But as I progress, you guys will see it here. I'll do the transmission mount, get my drive shafts in, get the transfer case bolted up properly, get my spacers for the torque converter. I'll probably do that in the middle of a video because it doesn't really matter. I have no intentions of ever selling those things. It's just for me. Drive shafts, fuel line backup, transmission cooler lines, transmission cooler, yada yada. You nickel and dime yourself to death on these things. But it is what it is. So, if you hung in this long, thank you for watching. If you're new, please like and subscribe.